What if healing your family isn't only about breaking patterns? What if it's also about remembering, honoring, feeding, and strengthening the lineage? Because your ancestors gave you more than trauma, they also gave you medicine. And today we're going to discuss ancestral offerings, why we make them, how they can help us move through grief, and how we can honor our ancestors without continuing their suffering. Right now, we are in the 7th lunar month of the lunar calendar. It's Hungry Ghost season, and we just began the first day of 40 days in the Tonopoali calendar of ancestral offerings, the original Dia de los Muertos. This is the time to feed your lineage, and this is the time to empower your life. So we're beginning season 4 of the Empowered Healer podcast with a theme of healing trauma. And the first 2 episodes addressed early childhood trauma and how that builds empaths, how that makes someone sensitive. Today, because we're in Hungry Ghost season, because we're in this special time of offerings, we're talking about how to give back to your lineage. Because the wounds that you experienced in your childhood and in your life, they didn't begin with you. We are all coming from different walks of life. But the common thread is something made you sensitive. Something made you spiritual. Something developed you into being curious about this topic. And that something drove you to this podcast. So I'd like you to think about something from your childhood that you've had to heal. Maybe you had an emotionally unavailable parent. Maybe there was addiction, anger, abandonment, scarcity, silence. Maybe you became the strong one, the responsible one, the child who took care of everybody else. Now ask yourself, where did your parent learn that? And where did their parent learn it? That's when the story began. Have you ever recognized something in yourself and suddenly realized, ooh, my mother did this, or my grandmother did this, or everybody in my family does this? When you have that one, that's the real aha. Like, whoa, it's just everybody does that. That was normal. And then when you see these things, you understand there's something in your lineage. That's when the story began. And I was in ceremony one time, and the grandmother spirit showed me the first strand when a spider builds its web. Like the spider comes down on the web, on the first strand that comes from within her. And this is how my ceremony began, was she came down on a strand and said, who knows how old this story is and who cares? And that began a huge initiation, a huge ceremony with Grandmother Spider and her wisdom of healing ancient, we can call them traumas, wounds, lifetimes of things that were still within me. And it was very intense. And we can call that destiny, and call that luck, and call that karma. But it's generations upon generations of both joy, pain, suffering, trauma, and it's built just like that spider web. It's built so carefully, so delicately, so intricately, and yet at the same time, it's strong and vulnerable. It's sticky. It's rememberable. It attracts. Without the spider web, the spider doesn't eat. It's a home. It can be destroyed and recreated. And if you think about that as your lineage, your life, your web, it starts to really complete why people have been doing offerings since the beginning of time. The spider web has a pattern. It has a specific uniqueness, just like your lineage does. Every single person has a pattern, something that within that structure is recognizable. It's palpable. It's beautiful and destructive, harmful, yet abundant. And it's fleeting. It's not permanent. Some webs are longer lasting than others, but some, the spider will put it up a day and it's gone the next day, and some it'll be there for 20 years. And so when you think about your lineage, it's older than time. Who knows who strung that first string? And who cares? Because it doesn't matter who began this. It matters who completes it. And in the Hungry Ghost Month, the focus is on the wounded spirits, the spirits who are in those lower realms, who died neglected, sad, tragic, unexpected, who died in a way where they were forgotten. And in the Hungry Month, and in this time, the gates are open and we can rectify their pain. We can give back. We can honor. We can have compassion. We can love them. And in loving them, we love ourselves and we heal those broken patterns. We heal those things that have caused everybody in our family pain and suffering. And then if we look at the beauty of compassion, the beauty of healing, then we can forgive and we can move forward and we can honor our own life and flower and fruit what they couldn't. And that's what I think is so beautiful when we combine the East and the West. Because in the East, this is the season of honoring those who were lost and forgotten. But in the West, it's about honoring the lineage and continuing the lineage so that we may heal grief, we may process and understand the patterns that we were born into and inherited. And we have a place, the sacred altar is the place to lay it all down. So within the next 20 days, we lay our flowers down. We lay our offerings, however big and small. We burn our ancestor money. We take moments out of our busy day to honor those who are not physically here, but spiritually alive. You know, one of the most beautiful things I remember is sitting with the 13 Indigenous grandmothers, the Council of the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. And these are all ladies who have lived through every kind of unimaginable and supernatural experience you probably could think of, holding ancient roots down from different tribes around the world, ancient wisdom from ancient times, living in this modern world. And there's 13 of them. They came together, they formed their own council to heal the world, to go around the world, to spread the medicine at this crucial time. And one of the ladies asked in the conference, she said, so why is it when one of the grandmothers dies, you don't replace them? You don't ever have a new grandmother join the circle. The 13 grandmothers who began are the ones who are going to end. There's no, coming into the circle anymore. That's it. Those 13 came in, and those 13 will go out, and there won't be any new ones coming in. And the grandmothers, they said, because they're still here. They're not physically here, but they're still here. And so when all of them are gone, the council still remains. Their legacy will move forward. And perhaps the next generation will form another council in honor of the first council. That's the hope. Seeing in the ancient ways, we weren't so short-sighted. And that's why when you return to the altar, when you return to ancestors, to honoring them, to not fearing them, to really connecting. When you do that, you don't think about today and tomorrow. You think about the next generation and the generation after that, all the way to 7 and beyond. I once was asked to facilitate a ceremony for people who had no idea what this was. No idea. And I connected with one person. He was a teacher from LA. And I told him, the thing is you have to look beyond one generation and into 7 generations. And he looked at me as if someone had just took all the wind out of his body. And he said, I have never thought of 7 generations. I've barely thought of my kids. But you're saying to think 7 generations, it's almost impossible. And I was really blown by that statement because I thought, This is what's wrong with the world. We have lost the original instructions. We don't think of 7 generations, because if we thought of 7 generations, the whole world would be different. But if you go to any indigenous lands anywhere in the world, they are thinking 7 generations. And how you know that is because the land is untouched. The land is underdeveloped. It's still like it was 7 generations ago. The water is still intact. Many places, like right now, one of the biggest tragedies is there's going to be a big dam in Tibet. One of the last purest drinking waters that flow, will soon be dammed. Once the waters are dammed, who knows how that affects everything on Mother Earth. Once we drill and strip mine, once we destroy a mountain, when will that mountain grow back? 7 generations will not see that. When we take sacred lands and we decimate them, that's it. There's no going back. There's no cutting a tree down and then, oh, we'll just grow another. You've cut that tree down. You can grow another, but you won't grow that tree. That next 7 generations will definitely not see that tree. They'll see a new tree. Hopefully, if we don't cut down that tree. And it goes on and on. And so when we reconnect to the ancestors, we are thinking of those 7 generations, backward and forward. Because healing works on both ends of the spectrum. You can't just heal the future without healing the past. And that's why when we honor the ancestors in our lineage who had it rough, who were not the good ones, who were wicked and evil, who did terrible things, we are healing. We are healing them. We're healing ancient memories. We are healing ourselves. We are forgiving everything that has tainted our soil. And we are freeing ourselves to move forward. And it's not just giving water and food. It's giving our heart. Many times people will come to me in pain and suffering. And I will say, you have to do more ancestor work. And sometimes they will literally yell at me. Shocking, I know. But I have been yelled at more times. I have been blamed for people's problems. I have been yelled at, screamed at, called every name in the book for pointing out one thing. Well, many things, but one particular thing that has really triggered people is the practice, the actual practice of laying down offerings. Because it sounds so easy. Oh, yeah, just pour some water every day, pour some liquor, light a candle, light up some smoke, all kinds of offerings nowadays. But actually, no. You can do that for a day. You can do that for 2 days. You can do that for a week. You may even make it to 30 days. But can you do that every day, nonstop, without expecting or wanting something in return? If you do your offerings for 30, 60, 90, 120 days, months with nothing, no lottery winnings, nothing exciting happening, just gradual, repetitive, day in, day out offerings with no reward. Can you do that? Because it might be that. There's no guarantee that if you lay down a bunch of offerings, the sky will open and all the riches pour down, because that's not how the spirit world works. You may lay down thousands of offerings and receive boredom in return. But that boredom is the gift, because in that boredom, nobody died. Or if they did die, it was as smooth as it could be. You didn't go bankrupt. You may have not had a lot of cash, but you didn't go bankrupt. Sometimes offerings lead nowhere, seemingly, because I've seen it happen this way. When you have a very dry lineage, and maybe your lineage hasn't been fed in generations, maybe 7 generations, maybe more. Nobody in your family has done any offerings for generations. How many offerings will it take to fill the lineage? How many offerings will it take to bring you into a state of flow and abundance? How many traumas built upon traumas on that web have to be rebuilt and restructured, cleared, purified, and refreshed for you to see noticeable results? And it may not be for you, it may be for your children. A lot of people right now are running on their grandparents or their great grandparents' prayers. There are some lineages, like if you come from Asia or Mexico or South America, or a tradition where they still feed their ancestors, but maybe you yourself are not doing it, but your life is pretty okay. It's because your lineage is still flowing. It's still living off those old prayers. Now, if you get back into it, your life will elevate, your life will improve, things will move more rapidly, because we're not starting from complete desert conditions. We're not in the Sahara. We're in, Hawaii. We've got some moisture, we've got some breeze, we've got something. We're not in a place where it's desperate and dire. Because what happens is, when your lineage is dry, it's thirsty. And just think about the spirits that are your ancestors. They are thirsty. They are hungry. They are neglected. They are sad. And they are starving. And they are looking to you to empower and feed them. And in doing so, you're recharging not only them, but yourself and your future and your past. And I know it's such a huge thing to think about because here in the West, and this is why Christianity flourished, is it's so easy. It's a very easy religion compared to the ancient ways. Because in Christianity, all you have to do is believe in Jesus and you are saved. You really don't have to do much else than that. And this is why when Christianity came to Korea, a lot of people jumped on board. People in my family who should be doing the jesa, who should be doing the blessings, who should be doing the offerings, they abandoned ship because when they saw this new religion, they said, hey, that sounds easy. I don't have to cook all this food. I don't have to remember who died when and who was born this day and when to do all these ancestor rites, because it's pretty intense when you really get down to it. When you do the rites correctly, you're doing maybe 20, 40, 50 rites every year. You might be doing all these different offerings to your lineage because that's how it was done. Now, I'm a modern shaman, so I say, do what you can when you can. Don't try to do it like that. Like if you can do one full offering, even once a year on the new year, and put your heart into it, save up your money and really sacrifice and do a really nice offering, you're going to see noticeable things. You're going to see that your life will move in a different way. It's not going to be Hollywood necessarily, unless that's your destiny, but it will be better. You'll start to see noticeable things, but sometimes it takes time. And that's why I was saying earlier, people will yell and complain and get frustrated and give up because they give up before the fruit can even come, before the harvest will even harvest. They'll look for the shortcut, the easy way, I want to just pray and have it happen. Why do I have to actually put work into it? Why can't I just do one video and be the YouTube star and just put one offering down and call it a day? And I wish I could say, yeah, that's how it goes. But nothing in this world actually moves that way. Nothing. People see the success, but they never see what's behind the success. Many opportunities have to happen. Many nights of discipline, many days of rejection often come with success. Success is a result of hard work and discipline meeting the right opportunity. And opportunity comes from the spirit world. It comes from your ancestor. It comes from the people you venerate. It comes from the people you heal. It comes from the consistency and the discipline and the fortitude and the strength it requires to believe in something greater than yourself, something that weaves the weave of destiny and is the master of this world. And that it's a feminine spirit. There is a masculine principle, but the creator is a feminine spirit that we call grandmother. And grandmother is the orchestrator of all the things that you want and don't want. And when we venerate our ancestors, it's like building an army around us who help orchestrate that beautiful weave, that beautiful masterpiece that we call life. So during this time of the Hungry Ghost Month, of the offerings of flowers that eventually fruit, the invitation is to do your offerings and to not expect anything, to not have an intention, to not want to manifest, but to just honor. I know in this world, transactional relationships are everything. And that's why people suffer. Because unlike when you were a child and you had a relationship, it was pure. You didn't really have anything. Maybe you had toys or whatever, but you really didn't have a lot to offer like you have as an adult. You didn't have a job. You didn't have a credit card. You didn't have, you know, a house. You didn't have a car. You didn't have all these things that people want. And so the purest relationships we often have are from childhood. And more people don't have those relationships until adulthood. Some people do, but the large majority of people, we might keep in touch on Facebook and here and there, but not consistently every day. Life is moving very fast, and relationships are harder and harder because we want something. We need something. We expect each other to be perfect, to understand our needs and wants. I was just at the tire store earlier, and a lady was talking about her tires, and she was going on and on about her tires. And when the technician asked her, "Do you know what tires you have?" She's like was blank, and she said, "Oh, you should have telepathy and know what tires I have." And of course it's a joke, but the guy was looking at her like, "What? You should just know what I need. You should just know what I have. You should just know. You should just know." You should just know what I need and want without me telling you, without me researching, without me actually going and looking at my tire. You should just know. And I think a lot of people operate like that in their relationships. That's a silly example, but that's how people think. You should just have telepathy and know what I'm thinking. Now, if you're psychic, you might, but most people don't go that deep. Because even to be psychic, you have to start wanting to dig into something. It has to interest you. And what would interest you to dig deep into somebody? Some kind of transaction, most likely. And that's why I encourage you during this Hungry Ghost season and this time of the ancestors is to lay all that stuff down. I know the world is so crazy right now. There are so many things happening simultaneously that are closing out lots of chapters. Generational chapters right now are closing, and it's our opportunity to close them, to honor them, to respect them, and to now let them go, to build new weaves, to build new stories, new habits, new patterns that when we put them down, they will last the next 7 generations. Because the thing that will change this world is not a hierarchy, it's a circle. It's a circle of everybody working together in harmony to build a better weave, to build something for the next 7 generations, to preserve, to protect what the ancestors have already laid down. This is the original way. There is no top, there is no bottom. There is only connection. There is only a circle. There is only beauty, wisdom, generosity, and love. There's self-responsibility, not blaming, not victim, not shaming, not guilt, just honor. And it starts by honoring where you come from, your roots, the people who laid your foundation, the people who wounded you long before you knew the wound, the people who prayed for your existence long before you existed, and the people who are still here, just in another dimension, just across the street, who are still here, still praying for you, still wanting you to succeed, still fighting for your survival. Give them a drink of water, give them some coffee, give them some liquor they like to drink. Give them some cigarettes if they like tobacco. Give them something. Give them anything. But give it with your heart. Give it with love. And when I start talking about offerings, people always ask me, how do I do that? Where do I do that? What do I do with the food when I'm done? That's up to you. But this is the thing. If you're going to give, give. Don't be stingy. Give. Give what you can when you can with your heart. Because the more you give, the more you receive. The more you will receive. And I don't mean that like in monetary, but it could be monetary. But I mean it in merit, in energy, currency. If you pay $100 for something, you get that value. If you pay $5 for something, you get that value. And it might not be money, it might be time. You might spend a lot of time making a beautiful altar and preparing a beautiful feast. You might hand cook things. You might, go out to a special store and get something that your ancestors liked. You might sacrifice money that you could have spent on yourself. those all matter. Those things matter. I was telling my mom, who grew up, and she's Korean, and she grew up with this somewhat, she grew up in the time of post-war Korea. So it was all changing very rapidly. But she grew up with this basic premise and knowing as a child that the more you put into it, the better. And this is like embedded in the culture, is that the more you give to your ancestors, it may not come back to you, but it will go to your kids. It will go to their kids. It will go in some way, shape, and form to you and your future and heal things that were never spoken. And so it's never a waste. Recently, I did a business ceremony and I asked the ladies to bring stuff for their ancestors. And I always think it's so interesting when I do ceremonies here in America of what people bring, because I can tell if they understood the assignment or not. Because I had a whole array of stuff that people brought. Some people, they brought the alcohol, and it was like, the stuff that their people liked. And some people brought like one beat up peach or one, and it's sweet because that's probably what their people liked. But if I went to Japan or Korea or somewhere and I said, okay, bring food for your ancestors, people would bring food like rice, kimchi, side dishes, fish, meat, alcohol, incense. Like they would bring a lot of stuff. And I'll give you an example. I was taken to an African praying woman one time, and I didn't actually know who this woman was. The only thing I really knew was she was someone highly respected in the community, and the family that I was going with, they had an entire vehicle, like a big SUV. We had this huge SUV full of food. Like this lady had been cooking all day in all traditional African dishes, and we couldn't eat any of that food, but she she was cooking like a mad lady. Like I was like, wow, why is she cooking all this food? And then her son was like, well, we're gonna go to this lady. And then he had mentioned something about her being like a psychic or something, but I didn't really understand who she was. And I was, like just kind of thinking, like, why are we bringing all this food here? And of course, we get to this house. It's this big, huge house, beautiful house. And she comes out. And immediately when I saw this woman, I was like, oh, she's like me. She has the same gift. Like she's like, a healer. And she looked at me with the funniest look. I'll never forget that look she gave me. And she goes, who brought this girl? And they were like, we brought her here. And they were like, oh. And she kind of looked at me and I looked at her, and it was like this thing we recognized in each other. And then, one by one, she calls every person, bring all the food in. And she's like, oh, great. This is her offering. And she's super happy. And she goes one by one to each person. I think there was like 4 or 5 of us. And one by one, we go. And then at the end, she calls me. And I was like, okay. And then the first thing she said was, oh, you're like me. And I was like, yeah. And then she looked at me and she goes, you don't know who I am. And I said, no, I don't know who you are. And she said that in her country, there was a civil war for 10 years. And she saved 17,000 people through the power of fasting and praying. And because of that, she is flown all over the world and is the advisor to all those people and their families and countless families because she saved 17,000 people from death. She helped them escape the worst atrocities a person could ever go through her power, through her spiritual power. And of course, unfortunately, at that time, I was a baby. I was a baby shaman. And I really couldn't fathom that. I couldn't imagine what that even meant. And over the years, I always think of that lady because she did that through her power. So, what that means is that if someone went into her house, they were in a force field so powerful that soldiers, bullets couldn't touch that house. And so what it means is like when somebody would come to her house, which I'm sure there were soldiers all over, there were dead bodies everywhere. I mean, this is a war, but they would have like this feeling or something would stop them from entering that place. And she said all these people would come into her house and they were saved and they got to other countries. They were able to get out of the war. And that's why she was flown all over the world because these people ended up everywhere. They ended up in all parts of America, all parts of Africa, all parts of everywhere. And they remembered her and they saw her power. Imagine all the things those people saw her do that were protection, that protected them and her to where she became revered because she had that strong faith, that strong of a lineage, that strong of a mind and heart, that she could endure 10 years of war and save 17,000 people from being murdered, from being harmed. That's what spiritual power is. And when we walk in the old ways and we honor who we are, where we came from, and the foundation that was laid, that's power. And when you think about these religions that have come into this world that are built off of control and fear, the first thing they took away is our ancestral power. They took it because with that, we are uncontrollable. We are free. We are mighty. So, yeah, this is a harder path because you're going to have to work. If you want the lazy, easy way, then you would go to a different path. But if you're really ready for that spiritual power, for the healing, to restore the 7 generations, it just starts with honoring the time we're in, honoring who and where you come from, having love and compassion for all the atrocities they went through, and to forgive the unforgivable. And there's no right or wrong way. Just make it. Just do it. When you're having coffee in the morning, pour a little for your ancestors. When you're having a drink of water, pour a little for your ancestors. You know how in the hip hop culture, they say pour a little for the homies. Pour a little rum for them, pour a little vodka, pour a little tequila. You know, that's how this ancient stuff is still here. It's embedded somewhere in our culture, but it's a root that if we lose it, we lose the world, we lose this earth, we lose the battle. But if we preserve it and we grow it, we have a chance. We have a chance to make it a better world. So thank you so much for joining me today. We have two very powerful doorways coming up. We have the next moon, which is actually a solar eclipse, and it's going to be a blood moon, and it's going to be an opportunity to really help us to reveal, to clear, and to align. And then we have a next new moon, September 10th, which will be a new beginning. It will begin some really powerful doors to the equinox. So I invite you to join me for the shamanic candle blessings, burn some ancestor money, take some time to really evolve and grow into your path, feed your ancestors, and align to the truth of who you are. However, wherever, and whatever this month brings you, may you move through these energies with love, compassion, kindness, truth, and justice. Until we meet again, many blessings. Aho.